recording. All right, good deal, my friends. Good to see you. And let me say welcome to the Unity of Livonia, A Course in Miracles study group. It must be Tuesday evening starting around 7 p.m. because we've been doing this a long time. Not on Zoom for that long, but meeting on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. for many years. So it's good to see everybody again. And I was just getting ready to introduce the video that I wanted to show by Wayne Dyer. Everybody knows Wayne Dyer, what a big spiritual teacher, and that lived on Maui. You know, I mentioned that because of the tragic fires and that in Maui. But this one from Wayne Dyer is called Unlock Your Genius, Wayne Dyer's Secret to Embracing Infinite Possibilities. And so it's a 4-hour video. So I was wondering, I thought it maybe at the beginning of our next 3 or 4 sessions, I could pick out some like 10-minute excerpts to show. And it's a really good video with a lot of really important points being made. So if it's okay for the next 3 or 4 sessions, let's just take a few minutes and do some Wayne Dyer. Does that sound okay to everyone? Yeah. Hi, Sue. Welcome. We're just getting ready to get started. I'm gonna share my screen and put on Mr. Wayne Dyer for you. Right about here.
To nothing is a mind that says, I'm never looking for anything to be offended by. And that whatever anybody else out there has to say, my response to that is, that's an interesting point of view. I've never considered that before.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to stay afloat. I quit my business partner, and the thing that kept me going was studying the stories of famous entrepreneurs and seeing how they struggled and seeing what they had to overcome and listen to their wisdom, motivation, gave me the courage, the strength, the belief to go one more day and see my business through. And in all honesty, I still need the inspiration, wisdom, motivation today for my business too. So today, let's live your best believe life and get some incredible motivation from the one and only Wayne Dyer. Enjoy.
Helen Hansel was able to win any competition she took part in. She was known as the contest queen because she had won 7 trips to Paris, boats, houses. She would basically...
I remember being interviewed for a morning television show, and the woman that was interviewing me said, how does it feel to be talking to audiences where people have all of these strange beliefs, these weird things that they come to? And it intrigues me because one of the things that Emerson said is in one of his very first essays. He says the first thing we have to say respecting what are called new views here in New England, where we are right now, is that they are not new, but the very oldest of thoughts cast into the mold of these new times. And that was in 1842. He was speaking about that. And this woman asked me the question. She said, doesn't it offend you that there's people out there and they're talking about people using crystals to heal somebody? And I remember my response. My response was that if I've got hemorrhoids and somebody out there is convincing me that crystals are going to heal them, I'm ordering crystal chairs. Why not? I mean, all you have to do is understand something called a placebo. And what is a placebo? It's nothing more than a convincing belief. If I hand you this pill and say this pill is going to cure your arthritis, and you take it, and the pill is just a sugar pill, but your arthritis disappears, I'm into buying those placebos. Where can I get some of those placebos? And it's true of everything. And it's when you think about all the things that we enjoy and what our life is like, it took people who had a mind that wasn't closed to allow us to make the progress that we've made. Progress is impossible if you always do things the way you've always done things. But the other word in this, what Talopa said, is be attached nowhere. Be attached nowhere. Attachment really means I am deluding myself into a belief that if I can't have or if I can't do this or that thing, then somehow I am going to become immobilized. So an open mind that is detached. In my most recent book, in A Spiritual Solution to Every Problem, I have an observation. And it's an observation from Anthony DeMello, a man I respect enormously, a priest, who, in The Way to Love, puts it this way. Here's a great test for your relationships, especially the relationships that you're in with those whom you love, not your children, but your spouses and your lovers and so on. Try this test on for size. 1, I am not really attached to you at all. I am merely deluding myself into the belief that without you, I will not be happy. And 2, and here's the toughest test for non-attachment, I leave you free to be yourself, to think your thoughts, indulge your tastes, follow your inclinations, behave in ways that you decide are to your liking. How's that for a challenge? And so what most of us do in our relationships and why they are not as successful as we would like them to be is that we become attached and we tell ourselves that if this person behaves in a way that I find offensive, then I can't be happy. I make my happiness, my fulfillment dependent upon those people that I love being what I think that they should be. And detachment doesn't mean being a victim. It just simply means I know that I can make my life fulfilled and happy by having a mind that is open to everything and attached nowhere. The second principle is a very simple principle. It says you can't give away what you don't have. Now, it sounds ridiculous, okay? But it's more than what meets the ear as you hear this. You can't give away what you don't have. People who are not good at giving away love can't give away love because they don't have it to give away. If I want to give you a dozen oranges, I can't give you those dozen oranges unless I go out and pick up 12 oranges someplace. Otherwise, all it is just empty rhetoric. And the same thing is true of virtually everything in your life. You can't give away love for others if you don't have love in here to give away. If what you have in here is contempt, if what you have in here is anger, if what you have in here is fear, then these are the things you're going to be giving away in your life. And I've often thought, and I really believe very strongly that there's a law, sort of a law in the universe. I call it the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is one that works like this. You get back from the universe, from the world, what it is that you put out there in the world. And if you're putting out there into the world that I am not worthy of attracting something beautiful into my life, that the universe will respond back to you with exactly that message. And there are people who come to me and who came to me for years when I had my own counseling practice and so on, and they would say to me, I just keep attracting the same kind of people, the same kind of events, the same kind of losers into my life. Why is that? Why do I keep doing that? And I keep attracting an absence of abundance. I just can't seem to attract abundance into my life. I'm always behind the 8 ball. I'm never getting ahead. And I suggest to them, I said, did it ever occur to you that that's the very kind of message you're sending out to the world and out to the universe? That the ocean of abundance is there. And you can go to that ocean of abundance, and you can take a Mack truck, and you can fill it up 20 times a day, and take it out of there, and guess what? It doesn't impact at all the ocean of abundance. It doesn't even go down a zillionth of an inch. It's unlimited. Or you can go to the same ocean of abundance with a eyedropper, and you can just take this much out once a month and say, that's all that seems to be available for me. And the interesting thing for me is that when people go to this ocean of abundance, this unlimited world, all that I have is thine, it says in the holy books. All that I have is thine. It's all there for you. But if you believe inside that it's limited, that you can only get so much, that other people are going to get it before you do, then you'll find yourself creating that very same thing. And the even more interesting part about this, you can't give away what you don't have principle, is that if your message to the universe is gimme, 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 which is a lot of people's message to the universe. I want this from you, I want that from you, please give me this, I have to have that. That's what their prayer is like, that's what their message is, and they say, I want this from the universe, gimme, gimme, gimme. The universe's response back to that kind of a mentality is exactly the same. The universe will say right back to you over and over again, gimme, gimme, gimme. And you'll find yourself never ever arriving, but always being in a state of striving, always feeling as if you're being neglected, never feeling as if you have enough, always feeling as if you're being shortchanged, because you're constantly under the pressure to give, to get back what the universe is demanding from you. And the interesting thing about all of this, the irony of this, is that if you shift that and you say to the universe, to the world, how may I serve? How may I serve? The universe's response back to you is, how may I serve you? How may I serve you? And it's very intriguing. When you take your energy and your attention off of what you are demanding from the world, and instead saying, what can I give to the world? And it's really the basis behind that very famous line of the President John Kennedy's inaugural address. Ask not what your country can do, ask what you can do for your country. And the irony of that is, and I've learned that in my own life, that when I stopped thinking about what was in it for Wayne Dyer and how much could I get, and I began to shift and say, how can I help you? How can I give to you? What can I do for you? And people who write to me, I send them something. When I encounter somebody that needs help of some kind, I'm very often just giving that to them. And then I find that it just keeps coming back into my life. And once I shifted.
All right, so was that good or what?
It was excellent.
Anything jump out at you?
You turned it off too soon.
Yeah, you turned it off.
Yeah, and that's a good sign, but I thought, like, again, it's almost 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I'll try and find maybe around 10-minute segments and bring them in because, we've seen a lot of things spiritually in our life, but I think Wayne Dyer's had a big impact on a lot of people and his wisdom. We were
Can you
talking.
send it to us?
Pardon
Can
me?
you email that to us? Email us the video?
Yes, ma'am. Let me see if I can do that. Okay.
Okay, I'd appreciate it. I think everybody would.
All
I
right.
don't want to speak for everybody, but
Yeah. Well, I will be. I can technically do it. Okay. All right, Sue.
that's great.
All right. we were talking last night on ACIM Talks about how we feel like we're in the right ballpark because all of our teachers say basically the same thing, whether you're from Unity or whether you listen to Yogananda or Eckhart Tolle or any of the teachers, all the good ones. And well, what was it, Muji we listened to last night? They all seem to be saying the same things, right?
Yeah.
Is Wayne Dyer saying the same thing?
Yep.
So is it that we like these people because we like what they're all saying? Are they famous because they resonate with so many people? What are your thoughts about these folks? Like John Lennon, did he do Imagine?
Yep.
Or some of the musical artists or movie makers, isn't it the same message?
Very much so.
So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I've heard these messages enough to where it's not so much about hearing the message again, it's about following the message. And so are we in the let's let Sherilyn in. So are we in the theory phase or the action phase with these messages that have resounded so much in our lives? Do you just where do you think you are with that? Are you still learning the theory or more in the action part?
Action.
Did I hear someone? Who's that?
Pat, I think I'm in the action part.
Yeah,
For
okay.
the most part. For the most part.
Yeah. Well, what remains other than that for you?
I don't know, because I don't know that I didn't learn what I didn't learn yet. Yeah.
So, okay, I can appreciate that. Debbie, you had a comment?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think the message from all these seemingly diverse people, and it's all coming from the same source, but it's expressed so differently, and it's like somehow there's like a joy or a celebration in that, seeing it's like going to a carnival or something and you just can't get enough.
What is?
Hearing all the different expressions of spirit.
Yeah. And were there other comments before I?
Yes. I echo what Debbie says. Those of us who are actively in unity for many, many, many years, these messages go back 50 years ago and they go back into the 1800s. And when you live every single day with these messages, they become a part of you. It's not a question of introducing something new. It might be a new way of doing it, but it's something familiar to you. And I know that when I married my first husband, it was a beautiful marriage, and then we outgrew each other. And when I divorced him, I went into therapy because I didn't want to, the person I divorced, I didn't want to repeat it. I got married 10 years later. I was a slow learner. And, I married Al.
Mhm.
And I had a marvelous marriage, and both of us lived by unity. I call it all unity, if you'll excuse me for saying so. I love Wayne Dyer. And the message is not, let me put it this way. It's easy to say it's easy, but it's not easy to implement in your life if you're used to something else. And once you get used to it, so to speak, it's a way of life. And it's not me, it's the fact that I was open and Al was open. We had a marvelous marriage, just marvelous.
So you'd say you're in the more of the actual experiential phase? In other words,
It depends on what you're talking about.
well, maybe you're never completely finished with it,
No.
because even in the experience phase, as Pat was saying, since it gets just deeper and deeper and deeper, there may be still new things to learn apart from applying what you already know.
Absolutely. I would be surprised if anybody on this call isn't in the action stage, but it depends on what you're talking about. Some things are brand new and some things are a part of us.
Yeah, that's a good point you raise. The whole thing is relative, right? We certainly are not new to spirituality or A Course in Miracles and that by any means. But one of the things, and let me just say hello. Let's see, I said Ron, Sherilyn, welcome.
Thank you.
Tonight. And Dee, I got your note that you'd be a bit late, so I'm glad you were able to make it as well.
Thank you.
One of the biggest things for me is to walk around actually experiencing the voice. And you know how like the miracle used to be that if I'm in trouble, I would ask for help and get it. Now I just be in a 24/7 help mode. Because if the miracle can come sometimes when I feel I can't handle things and I need help, but I'm learning the help is available 24/7. So why wait till I'm in trouble to ask for it? It's such a wonderful experience to just give up as much as you can and let this thing run your whole friggin' day. Not just when I have to go pray, but I'm praying. Let's just say I'm staying in the prayer. Take care of every single thing about me, run my whole day. I give it over to you. I just stay open and watch it unfold. I don't grab for it. I wait for it. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Am I getting
live with it?
carried
Yeah,
away?
to live with it.
Pardon me?
To live with it. Yeah.
To start your day off with that.
Yeah, and what if you don't start or finish? What if the goal is to just live there because
Yeah.
it feels so good? It doesn't mean I don't have quote unquote problems, but it does mean if I leave it up to this one, it will handle them with ease. And therefore, my life becomes easier because I don't have to do anything. Speechless?
I'm in agreement.
Well,
Yes, in speechless agreement. I love it. There was was there another comment there?
go ahead, Dee, you first. Dee, go first. You
I
can go.
think Dee was finished. She was
Oh,
in
yeah.
agreement. Go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead. Hilma.
I was just kind of looking at it from kind of a passive point of view and saying that if I hand over my whatever it is that I am and say, I don't specifically want to say, well, help me with A and help me with B and help me with C. I would just, and I personally, I mean, I just rather say, whatever it is that I'm supposed to do and whatever is happening, maybe something that, you know, I would say, gee, maybe this is a negative thing, like breaking my arm is a negative thing, but it's a positive thing too, because I'm learning so many things that I didn't know before. I got help from people I never expected would help. And it's not something I just say, I don't know why this happened. There must be a reason for it, and in due time this will come to me and I say, this had to happen because I have learned such and such, maybe a little more compassion, maybe a little more empathy than I might have had before. And just keep that open mind. And so from a practical point of view, to say, you know, there's practice and there's theory, you know, the theory, you know, gives you the idea, but the practice is really what, you know, makes it. And it's not all or nothing. It's just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, very well said.
That's very good.
Any other comments or dovetailing on to what Hilda was saying? Well, I know we've got some reading to do, but let me maybe just, I feel compelled to respond, Hilda. See, I'm not sure that knowing is a requirement to live a good life here. You know, the course says several times, are you okay with understanding that there are things that you do not know, or something along those lines? It's beyond what, and yet if I don't know, what do I have to do instead? And what am I in effect doing? Starts with a T. If I follow you without knowing, why am I following you?
Trust,
Yeah,
having trust.
thank you. You know, the bedrock of the characteristics of a teacher of God, because and I don't mean to run this in the ground, we'll get to the reading. It's just that I'm convinced that I don't know anything. Okay, I'm giving up on even debating that. Let me just make that my assumption. I don't know.
Right.
So all I got left is to trust. Trust what?
Trust in God, trust in the Holy Spirit.
Trust in my common sense. Does it seem to be good or not? And if it seems to be good, I kind of move into that because I like happy, good. If it seems to be fraught with a lot of and tension and anxiety, I'm not sure that's for me. As I've gotten older, I have a new philosophy. For the most part, I don't do anything that's hard. Because if it's hard, it can't be from the Holy Spirit. It can't be from the benevolent, beneficent one. It can't be from the one whose only purpose is my good. So I used to say, God, give me a sign of what I should do. And now I'm learning that he gave me a lot of signs. I tried this. I knew from the beginning it was hard. It wasn't coming together. Stuff wasn't working right. And I'm not going to fight tooth and nail to get there by any means, because Spirit said, well, you asked me for a sign. Did anxiety look like me saying, come on? Y'all following me? Anybody?
I don't know. I don't know that I'm with you. I think common sense is knowing, is discerning between ego and the whole, and truth. I think that's a knowing, common sense.
I think that's a trusting that if it's love, its ways would be loving and gentle and kind.
Okay.
I would believe that its ways would be consistent with what it is.
But that's knowing right from wrong. Common sense is knowing. No? Okay.
Common sense to me is trial and error. What works and what doesn't. What else do I have to choose from? Go ahead, talk
Okay.
about it.
To me, it's so trial and error, then you finally know what works and what doesn't.
Yes, ultimately.
There is a knowing.
But in the meantime, I do common sense that says, I tried this, it seems to work and be nice and easy, and oh yeah. And I tried that and it was hard and difficult. And even if I got it, it usually turned out not to be what I really wanted. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Am I alone? Have you ever thought about it? See, I'm learning to do things that come together right.
Uh-huh.
And if I don't see it coming together, that's my common sense sign. I don't know. But that's not looking like that's for me. I don't know for sure, but so far, I don't know. That don't feel like the right choice. I'm not sure that's the Holy Spirit, because I've had other occasions that were good for me, where everything came together at just the right time in gentle ways. Am I the only one?
I guess in Meta, they call that the 3 E's, which I've mentioned here before. Is it effective, efficient, and effortless? And if it is,
that's Spirit.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my husband used to have a couple of statements that used to help me. He'd watch me get involved in something that was maybe over my head or was a problem.
Yes.
And he'd say, Pat, ride the horse in the direction it's going, would you?
Yes.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or row your boat gently down the stream.
Right, right. And then we'd get down to more specifics and he'd say, can't you see you're trying to make something happen here? And it's not and I'm fighting against what
Yes.
wasn't working. You're
Yes.
trying to make it happen. Those two things, they still come to me a lot.
And doesn't that sound like what I've discovered or what I'm talking about as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so thanks for helping the brother out there, sweetie. Because the rest of this group, boy, they was just gonna leave me out in the out in the cold. Any other comments on anything before we start our readings tonight? All right, well, maybe it's time to get on with it. Tonight we are let's see, where are we? Well, we're almost finishing psychotherapy process. We have one more to read. It's called The Ideal Patient Therapist Relationship. And then we'll be into the section called Psychotherapy Practice. And I think that's the final big section of the psychotherapy supplement. So we're making some progress there. But anyhow, let's get readers going. Sweetie is number 1, Pat 2, Debbie 3, Gina is 4, Hilda 5.
I pass, please.
Oh, yes. Okay. So Gina 4, Joan is 5, Ron 6, Sherilyn 7, and D is number 8. And we are on page 15 in psychotherapy supplement. We all good to get started?
Yep.
All right, sounds great. Sweetie, you're first up, my dear.
Okay. The ideal patient-therapist relationship. Number 1, who then is the therapist and who is the patient? In the end, everyone is both. He who needs healing must heal. Physician, heal thyself. Who else is there to heal? And who else is in need of healing? Each patient who comes to a therapist offers him a chance to heal himself. He is therefore his therapist, and every therapist must learn to heal from each patient who comes to him. He thus becomes the patient. God does not know of separation. What he knows is only that he has one son. His knowledge is reflected in the ideal patient-therapist relationship. God comes to him who calls, and in him he recognizes himself.
Thank you. We're off to another profound start, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to say about this one?
Well, I think it confirms what we've read already in that it's that both have to heal, the therapist and the patient, and that it's got to happen both ways.
Yeah. So there isn't, in fact, separation, is there?
Right.
So did he say like everyone's a therapist and a patient?
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, I've heard something like that before many times in the course, where like there's a passage that says Jesus says the redeemed Son of Man is the Holy Son of God. It's like man is two things at once. He's like man and God. The redeemed Son of Man is the Holy Son of God. Let me give you another one. You know, on page 28 in the text, that prayer that says, let me be, I am here to be truly helpful. Y'all know that one? You know, the last line of it, it says, I will be healed. What do I have to do to be healed? It says there.
Let him teach me to heal.
And so what did he just say here is that in the end, everyone is both. Y'all see it?
Yeah.
Do you see that same? It speaks of things that are one as though they are separate, but as it truth tells, it says it only appears they're separate. They're really one. The one that heals and the one that gets healed. The patient is also the therapist. The Son of Man is really also the Son of God. I am in you and you are in me and we are in the Father. Notice it's speaking of things that are one as though they are separate, but when it truth tells, it collapses them back into the one. Where's the sentence where it said God has one son? Did you see that one?
Mhm. Sentence 12.
Sentence 12. What he knows is only that he has one son. And who is he?
God.
Okay. And yet, do you see how it's such a loving accommodation in that he speaks of things that are, he's only got one son, right? But you think there's more than one, so I'll use your lingo to meet you where you are. But then I have to truth tell, God has only one son. There's only one presence and one power in the universe. It may look like a lot of different things. That's my speech on paragraph 1. Any other speakers? Okay, let's keep going. We're up to Pat.
Okie doke. Think carefully, teacher and therapist, for whom you pray, and who is in need of healing. For therapy is prayer, and healing is its aim and its result. What is prayer except the joining of minds in a relationship which Christ can enter? This is his home, into which psychotherapy invites him. What is symptom cure when another is always there to choose? But once Christ enters in, what choice is there except to have him stay? There is no need for more than this, for it is everything. Healing is here, and happiness and peace. These are the symptoms of the ideal patient-therapist relationship, replacing those with which the patient came to ask for help.
Wow. Hey, what is that sentence 5? What is symptom cure when another is always there to choose? Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yeah, I stumbled over it because I'm like, what?
Yeah, I
I
was.
think it means, why would you cure just a symptom when you can have the whole thing? There's
Yeah.
another choice.
Reminds me of that workbook lesson, only salvation can be said to cure. All this other stuff works on symptoms.
Right.
Well, why would you work on the symptoms when there's a cure? But are there other things in this paragraph for you? Again, I've never been through this before, so I don't know. Is there anything else resonating?
I underlined, for therapy is prayer, and
Yeah.
healing is its aim and its result.
Why did you underline it? Because you want to talk about it with us tonight?
Well, no, I liked it.
I can't bait you guys.
You are baiting
And
us, but
I
we're
like-
getting better at it.
All right, I'm working on it. Who had a comment? I'm sorry.
I like
Yeah.
the next sentence, sentence 3. What is prayer except the joining of minds in a relationship which Christ can enter?
Yeah, that was my
Mhm.
next one.
Excellent. Me too. Anything else? Well, we can keep going here. Okay.
Okay.
Debbie, paragraph 3, right?
Yep. Okay. The process that takes place in this relationship is actually one in which the therapist, in his heart, tells the patient all that his sins have been forgiven him, along with his own. What could be the difference between healing and forgiveness? Only Christ forgives, knowing his sinlessness. His vision heals perception, and sickness disappears. Nor will it return again once its cause has been removed. This, however, needs the help of a very advanced therapist, capable of joining with the patient in a holy relationship in which all sense of separation finally is overcome.
Thanks, Deb. Comments here, anyone? I'm a little cynical here about this one. What does this whole thing look like? Let's unpack. What does it look like on a day-to-day basis? Like, I know it's not the only type of therapist, but let's just take a professional psychotherapist who practices under these principles. The only example unpacked to me is in that, Dee, you gave an example in Hawaii of that therapist. Weren't you all here when Dee was talking about the therapist in Hawaiian spiritual practice that prayed over the folders of all of his clients, which was not a traditional way for a psychotherapist to behave? In this paragraph, is it that kind of non-traditional approach that a professional psychotherapist would use? Or maybe you know some psychotherapists that use A Course in Miracles and that in their practice. How would that relationship go as opposed to the traditional therapist patient that we all think of, where you go into the office and you sit down or lay on the couch and they ask you about when you were born and your child. How would this type be different from that? What would I expect to see?
I think in the scenario that's being described here, that therapist would help me see the truth of my being and not have me polish my ego some more.
So
There are many therapists who use both, and I agree with using both. There are techniques that are fabulous that therapists use, and what you're talking about, I think, in praying over a record, that's Ho'oponopono, which I use all the time. And it's very, very effective.
what
And
are some other techniques that might come to mind?
tapping, it's definitely metaphysical. That's another one.
Pathology, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Medication, definitely.
Kinesiology, strength testing.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So are these?
What about Feldenkrais? It uses the physical, and the spiritual.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So that's all I'm getting at is I was reading this, but having trouble saying, well, what would that look like, in a professional setting? How would it be different? So I appreciate some of the examples you've given me. Are there other comments here?
Well,
I don't know if that matches what this is describing, because this is including Holy Spirit and God. And I mean, my first exposure to quote unquote healing was from the Silver Mind method. And I was thrilled with what I was learning there.
Name Jose Silva.
yeah.
Say it again. Yeah, Jose Silva.
Jose, yeah, I remember. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. Sorry. And
Yeah.
Debbie will get back to you soon.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, am I talking out of turn?
No, you're fine.
No.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyhow, that was my first exposure and eye-opener to the body-mind connection. But then I learned that there's more to it, that there's something beyond that, which includes God and the Holy Spirit and my higher self. And and to me, that's what they're talking about here. And I do know a therapist that only uses this. And it's from metapsychiatry. That's what metapsychiatry is. All their therapists use the spiritual approach.
I got you. So that's helping me out. I don't know a lot about it. So thank you. There are a lot of techniques around. Debbie,
There's another person.
Hold on just a moment. Let me go back to Debbie and then we'll come to you, Sue.
That's fine.
Okay, so I was looking at sentence 4. His vision heals perception and sickness disappears. So when we look at the symptoms or the things that the patient may perceive as sin and look at them differently, and perhaps the therapist is there to guide them through that. And I don't know that much about metapsychiatrists, but it seems like, this could kind of be used in that way. Once you change what you're looking at, your vision of what it is that seems real, then everything change. Just like for us, when we change our vision of what's going on, our perception of what's real and not real, then life seems a lot more positive. And that's all I'm thinking of. I may not be.
Yeah. Well, let's get Sue in. And is it related to the same point here, Sue?
In essence, yes, there's a person who did psychotherapy combined with spiritual therapy at Renaissance Unity, and he got to be very well known, and that's Russell Rood. He's one of the finest therapists I've ever seen.
Really?
And yes, and he was definitely doing the spiritual form of therapy. But
Okay.
he recognized the value of the other form as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So there are a lot of techniques there, and there are a lot of innovative techniques that a lot of therapists are using that make use of this approach that we're talking about here. Yes, no?
Hmm?
Well,
Okay.
certainly what Christian Science is based on.
I don't know enough about Christian Science to say. So, like I said, I'm learning a lot here. How about the rest of you? We doing okay?
Yeah, I like that last sentence. This, however, needs the help of a very advanced therapist capable of joining with the patient in a holy relationship in which all sense of separation is overcome.
Why do you like it?
Well, it sounds like in that instant that the minds are really joined and they are one and they see
Yeah,
each other
yeah.
as not separate. Yeah.
Because to me, the point of view of traditional psychology or any therapist patient relationship is that the therapist sees the patient as as having things that are wrong, and their job is to fix them, right?
Mhm.
You've got the problem and I theoretically have the cure, right?
Mhm.
And so this one, the patient surrenders to the therapist, or at least enough to make an appointment and come in. But in the scenario we're describing, the therapist is the one that needs to forgive themselves for seeing the sins of the patient that need to be fixed, but instead seeing themselves as the ones in need of forgiveness. So everybody surrenders and opens up to way back to wholeness. Sue?
Everybody surrenders, but an extremely good therapist is one who works on an equal level. They are willing to be the teacher and the student.
There's that oneness thing
Mhm.
again, right? So are you saying nobody's different from nobody? That we all have roles to play and we take turns with those roles until healing is accomplished, until wholeness is accomplished. The patient helps the therapist helps the patient, the Holy Spirit helps both, and all that's really going on is mutual help.
That's one way of putting it.
Is that a good way, or you got some?
No, that's a good way because you're working together and you're hearing each other.
Yeah, good deal. We do a
And
good.
that's why our brothers are our saviors.
precisely. I can't get home without them. Even you, Joan, are so necessary. I'm joking. You know I like to make little jokey jokes, right? But yeah, we're all one and we're tied to each other's fate, are we not? Who's next?
I think the whole point here for me is learning that the reinforcement that I can't heal with the same mind that created the problem, that made the problem. I got to let go of my ego and look for a higher realm to turn to for the answers.
So is this something that you want or something you're doing, Dee?
Something I want or something I'm doing? I don't get the question.
Sometimes I get the feeling that you're in the experience, but sometimes you'll say things that make me think it's a desire that you'd like to get into.
No, it's an ongoing process for me.
How
It's
do
an
you
ongoing process.
ego in your life right now?
How do I what?
How do you see the ego in your life right now? Is it still something that's an issue, or you're doing a lot better, or is it relative?
I am definitely in process, and there's definitely a change
Okay.
for the better.
Right.
It's not as I can't say it's not as forceful. I value more I don't value it as much, and I value the holy higher self more.
Okay. Me
Whereas
too.
before I really valued the ego. I really did. It was, just get a better,
I've still got mine. There are occasions where it's an issue for me, or I'll go, oh wow, I should have done differently or better than how I responded. But for the most part, I'm learning to manage it a lot better, a lot more effectively than I used to. There are some things here on level 2 that I need an ego for, okay, survival things and stuff like that. But once those things are, managed by the ego, there's a superseding me now that's pretty much in charge, I'm happy to say. And I used to would say, knock on wood, but now I don't have to trust wood anymore. I've got a more solid foundation. Comments, anybody else here? Thank you, Dee. Anybody? Shall we?
It's for me, it's becoming the 3 E's. It's becoming more effective, efficient, and effortless.
Yeah, okay.
That's where I'm at.
We're in the same ballpark with it then. Good.
And the wood that we refer to when we say knock on wood is outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is something within us.
Right.
The Holy Spirit, if you will.
Right.
Sense, if you will.
And it's not on the hope and the prayer or knocking on wood anymore, or if the creek don't rise. This thing on the inside has made a very solid impression on me. I trust it implicitly. Beautiful. I give my life to it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Ready to read on? Did someone else have a question or a comment? I didn't mean to. All right. If we're ready, we're up to, is Gina here?
Yep.
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. You ready to read? We're on paragraph. Ooh, we're only on 4.
Yep.
Be quiet, Sue.
All right.
All right, Gina, we're ready.
All right. For this, one thing and one thing only is required. The therapist in no way confuses himself with God. All unhealed healers make this fundamental confusion in one form or another because they must regard themselves as self-created rather than God-created. This confusion is rarely, if ever, in awareness, or the unhealed healer would instantly become a teacher of God, devoting his life to the function of true healing. Before he reached this point, he thought he was in charge of the therapeutic process and was therefore responsible for its outcome. His patient's errors thus became his own failures, and guilt became the cover, dark and strong, for what should be the holiness of Christ. Guilt is inevitable in those who use their judgment in making their decisions. Guilt is impossible in those through whom the Holy Spirit speaks.
Comments there? I'm sorry, my attention is back at the last sentence in the really at the top of the page. It's the end of paragraph 2, sentence 9. These are the symptoms of the ideal patient relationship, replacing those with which the patient came to ask for help. And here it just talks about how the whole course of the therapeutic relationship may take a direction that was unintended by either the therapist or the patient. And unless this total surrender is acknowledged, I guess, it says that judgment creates guilt, doesn't it? I'm back at the last few lines in paragraph 4. His patient's errors therefore become his own failures, and guilt became the cover, dark and strong, for what should be the holiness of Christ. In sentence 5, where it says his patient's errors thus become his own failures, they're speaking of the therapist, right?
Right.
Why? How did the therapist fail? I'm backing up into the paragraph now a little. What did the therapist do that was inappropriate?
I think the therapist is so identified sometimes with being the helper or the fixer,
Yeah.
and begins to imbue himself with these godlike powers, and this is where he goes astray.
And so is that what is meant by sentence 2? All unhealed healers, quote unquote, make this fundamental confusion in one form or another. In other words, because they play God in the relationship. Is that why they're an unhealed healer?
Yes.
Judgment, yeah, that's how I'm seeing it. Joan agrees. Are the rest of you following what we're saying here, even?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Hey, I have to admit, this is pretty deep for me on the first try. I deliberately do not read beforehand anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm lazy. Yeah, I'm trusting I can be lazy, that the voice will help me to understand it. But in any event, I don't want to beat it to death or anything. Is there anything more in paragraph 4? Then let's move on. Try paragraph 5. We're up to Joan for, right? Joan for 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
The passing of guilt is the true aim of therapy and the obvious aim of forgiveness. In this, their oneness can be clearly seen. Yet who could experience the end of guilt who feels responsible for his brother in the role of guide for him? Such a function presupposes a knowledge that no one here can have, a certainty of past, present, and future, and of all the effects that may occur in them. Only from this omniscient point of view would such a role be possible. Yet no perception is omniscient, nor is the tiny self of one alone against the universe able to assume he has such wisdom except in madness. That many therapists are mad is obvious. No unhealed healer can be wholly sane.
Wow.
Oh my.
I liked it. I didn't understand all of it, but I liked how it ended up. What are your thoughts there, anybody? What does it mean? The passing of guilt is a true aim of therapy and the obvious aim of forgiveness. Yeah, I'm glad I asked because I don't know, and apparently you don't either, right?
Well, when you forgive someone, you have no judgment against them. You don't see them as someone who made an error or a mistake. You see them as a holy child of God.
But what does it mean, passing of guilt? Is that saying the same thing that you're saying? Does that mean to get rid of guilt through forgiveness or to pass guilt from one person to another? You see what I'm
Releasing it. Yeah, releasing it.
It
Yeah.
means releasing guilt.
Letting it
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Okay, I'm asking. Yeah, seriously. The releasing of guilt is a true aim of therapy and the obvious aim of forgiveness, right?
Mhm.
Boy, that's helping me out a lot. Thank you. In their oneness can be clearly seen, yet who could experience the passing of guilt who feels responsible for his brother in the role of guide for him? Huh? Help me
Mhm.
with 3.
It means that they're not seeing each other as equals, as the same.
But I thought it was the end of guilt,
Yeah.
releasing of guilt. All right. Such a function presupposes a knowledge that one here can have, a certainty of past, present, and future. In other words, it presupposes omniscience, which nobody on level 2 has.
Right.
We have only perception. So to assume judgment, right, that we know is a mistake.
Yeah.
Whew, I am so glad all of you folks are here to help me out here tonight. Appreciate it. Comments from you. We've got time for a little bit more. Heck, we might even finish this. Comments. Paragraph 6. Ron, we're up to you, sir.
That's me.
All right.
Yeah, it is Yet it is as insane not to accept the function God has given you as to invent one he has not. The advanced therapist in no way can ever doubt the power that is in him, nor does he doubt its source. He understands all power in earth and heaven belongs to him because of who he is. And he is this because of his creator, whose love is in him and who cannot fail. Think what this means. He has the gifts of God himself to give away. His patients are God's saints who call upon his sanctity to make it theirs. And as he gives it to them, they behold Christ's shining face as it looks back at them.
So
He
is
becomes a mirror, more or less, a mirror for the patient to see that he is really Christ.
yeah, very nice. I like the way you put that. Thank you. This whole thing to me goes back to, you know, how in the Course it talks about the Holy Spirit wants to use your eyes, your hands, your feet in order to accomplish its mission. And I'm getting in the therapist patient relationship, the therapist is just a window for the patient to interact with the Holy Spirit. It looks like, you know, the Holy Spirit has a costume on, like a professional psychotherapist costume. But what the patient doesn't suspect is that he's going to talk to the Holy One himself, the true helper, the true comforter, in the costume that the patient won't run away from. Is that too wacky what I'm saying?
No, that's very good.
Yeah.
Right. And so the patient is going to see the Holy Spirit. Is that what that paragraph is getting at, or no?
They're both going to see the Holy Spirit.
So, and the therapist kind of admits it first. The therapist has given his, what is the Course says, that the body will be used as a communication device for spirit, right?
Mhm.
So the good psychotherapist has surrendered his counseling to the Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
So the body is somewhat of a costume, is it not?
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
this very spiritual encounter.
And really, that's what the guy in that did the Ho'oponopono prayer was doing. He went first.
You know, he surrendered first. He was practicing forgiveness
Mhm.
Yeah.
in advance and knowing that these were children of God, divine children of God, and not letting their level 2 activities get in the way of seeing that. That's, I like it. Pat, you had a comment?
No.
No? All right. Just fidgeting there a little bit. Is
Yeah.
everybody good? Can we tackle another here tonight? Thank you, Ron. Sherilyn, we're on paragraph 8.
7.
7.
Oh, I'm sorry. 7? Okay. Sorry about that. Mhm.
She's on mute.
Oh, Let me see. Hey, Sherilyn, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Okay,
All
I'm
right.
gonna-
Thank you.
I'm going to have to defer to
Oh.
someone else because it's been so long since I've been into any of this, and I'm just listening and it's coming back. But I did not copy off. I received the
Good deal.
Song of Prayer and the psychotherapy, but I didn't copy them off today. So I don't have it in front of me.
Not
But I'm working on it.
But I'm glad you got the materials and
Yes,
the
I did.
emails and that.
And I also have your book, so I'm ready
All
to go.
right. I hope you enjoy Earth School.
I will. I've had some setbacks, and so I've got to get back on my feet again, and I'll be up and running.
We'll wait. Okay.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is the nicest, easiest, most patient group of people
Yes.
that you'd ever want to meet.
And I'm kind of surprised to see a couple of old friends there, that I knew a long time ago.
Yeah, notice how sweet and easy your comeback has been.
Yeah. Very easy.
I'd say it's spirits involved. Okay.
But I think something else is making it difficult for me.
You'll be fine, my friend. Okay.
Okay. I've
These
lost my
are
picture
next-
now. I don't know what I've done.
All right. Miss Newman, we've got time for your reading before we stop here.
Okay. The insane, thinking they are God, are not afraid to offer weakness to God's Son. But what they see in him, because of this, they fear indeed. The unhealed healer cannot but be fearful of his patients and suspect them of the treachery he sees in him. He tries to heal, and thus at times he may, but he will not succeed, except to some extent and for a little while. He does not see the Christ in him who calls. What answers can he give to one who seems to be a stranger, alien to the truth, and poor in wisdom, without the God who must be given him? Behold your God in him, for what you see will be your answer.
This is deep. I'm glad I'm going through this. I'm being challenged here a bit. We could probably stay on one paragraph all night.
Yeah.
Anybody, please, before we go, it's almost time, but give me a quick summary of paragraph 7.
I think the last sentence says it. Behold your God in him, for what you see will be your answer. I need to behold the truth.
Who's him?
Behold you in the patient.
Behold your God in the patient, for what you see will be your capital A answer. So the patient is the therapist's answer?
The truth of the patient, me beholding the truth in the patient.
And so
is
do
the
you
end.
see how the patient becomes a healer to the therapist? Yes or no?
Yes.
And that the therapist is also a healer to the patient?
Yep.
And that the Holy Spirit is the healer to both?
Yep.
So is
Yes.
this a win-win? Is it a win-win, or are there any losers? Is there a difference in the status of everyone? Is
No,
the
they're
Holy
either all
Spirit
sick,
pardon
they're
me?
all sick or they're all getting better.
Yeah. So you see, there's wholeness. There's no differences when you allow this process. They're all one, and the healing is merely by bringing back wholeness what was separate. They all end up in what category? Winner.
Level
Yeah, and then level 2, everybody wins. Nobody loses. There's progress for everyone, even though we know, we natives of level 1, that there was only one to begin with. But the myth of separation is being gently dispelled, even in level 2.
Yeah.
Where 2 or more are joined, healing occurs. Where there are unified goals, wholeness becomes restored. Do you see how important wholeness is? Yes.
Yeah.
No, maybe. I
yeah,
don't know.
wholeness is
This
truth.
guy.
How important truth is. Yeah.
All right. So listen, I think that's a good place to stop for tonight. And so it is 8:30 here. So let me pick up a quick paycheck and I know this won't take long, but hey, I love it. All right. Thank you, my friends. Just thank you very much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here with me. And we'll turn it over. Are there any final comments from anyone? All right, then I guess we're ready for our closer tonight. Hilda, if you would.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God.
I am the light of God.
Light of God.
I am the love of God.
I am
I am the love of God.
I am the power of God.
I
I
am
am
the
the
power of
power
Of God.
I am the presence of God.
I
I
am
am the presence of
The
God.
presence of God.
Therefore, wherever I am,
Wherever
God is,
Here I
God
am.
is, and
God
all
is.
is well.
And all is
All
well.
is well.
There is nothing to fear. There is only love.
Nothing to
Namaste.
fear.
There
There is
is
only
only love.
Namaste, dudes. Have a good week.
day. Thank
Take
Have
you.
a blessed week.
Thank you.
Good night.
Debbie, you will be missed.
Bye, see you later.
Know that, Debbie, you're loved and you will be missed.
Oh, yes. See you soon, Deb. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Debbie.
You guys will be missed also. I'll be hearing you on those recordings. Yeah.
Excellent. Bye-bye.